Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in and listening to another episode of Empowered with Lauren. We are in day 49 of the stay-at-home order, yet it seems like a lifetime ago when we were all in restaurants, attending parties, conducting business meetings, and especially having our children all in school. 2 months ago, the thought of us sheltering in place was the furthest thing from our minds. However, this has been our reality. All of us have been forced to dramatically change our daily routines and our life during this time. The one thing I think we can all agree on is that in the past 49 days, we have shown that we are resilient and we do persevere. Yes, we are all in uncharted waters right now. And for many of us, we struggle on how to navigate this as individuals, yet we also know that we need to set examples for our children, knowing that how we act and react can cause lasting impressions on the way our children cope with their future. We have an amazing guest joining us today. We have Dr. Rhonda Yoss-Kaplan. She has over 30 years of experience working with children and their parents. Dr. Rhonda has conducted psychological, neuropsychological, and education evaluation and school consultation. She has also been an adjunct professor, and for the past 20 years, she's in private practice. Her specialty is clinical child and adolescent psychology. She works with parents, individuals, families on providing behavioral management and developmental consultation. Dr. Rhonda, I am grateful to have you join us today on Empower with Lauren. I think there are many things we can talk about, and hopefully we can work through together.
Oh, thank you so much, Lauren, for that lovely introduction and for having me today.
Dr. Rhonda, we are in uncharted waters, and I know as a parent to a 6-year-old myself, dealing with this as a woman, as a mother, as a human being, has been trying on so many different levels, and yet I'm panicked by what I do and don't do, how it's going to affect my little girl's personality, how she feels about what's going to happen when we start acclimating back into society. And I believe many parents are questioning that as well, knowing that before this whole pandemic started, teenage depression was up 65%. Whatever we do now, I don't want this to turn out that more kids are going to end up on antidepressants, anxiety medication, because now they are riddled with all these different fears. What can we do?
Well, clearly, we're being asked to fulfill a lot of roles at one time. But the most important thing we need to do is breathe, because there are opportunities to grow in this scenario. I'm not saying this is a good scenario. I'm not saying our children not having the structure of school. None of us parents are going to be great teachers. But it does give us the opportunity to slow down and role model emotional regulation.
Right.
You know, we're so used to our kids running and doing and taking their music lessons and going to their gym classes and their team sports and their homework. And this is a slower time. And we can work on our relationships, and we can work on how to talk to our children about adversity and fear. There's a lot we can do in this situation so that we're stronger and more resilient when we come out of it.
I totally agree. I also think maybe going back to basic values that throughout the last, I'd say 15, 20 years that maybe we've lost. I mean, think about how many families get to sit now and have dinner all together, where maybe that was once or twice a week. Now it's 7 days a week.
Oh, my families tell me that all the time. Not only that, they're playing board games. People are cooking together. Right. Families are exercising together.
Right.
You know, there are a lot of opportunities for closeness. I'm not saying people aren't worried. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk with our children. I'm just saying, we have to be proactive. We have to talk with them in an age-appropriate way, in language they can understand. And we're also used to running so fast and forcing our kids to be uber productive. And
right.
Maybe it's time for us to slow down a little bit and go back to basics.
So even the type A personality, and I think I suffer from this overproductive, that if I'm not using my time efficiently and I'm not producing, then I'm failing. And I obviously don't want to put that on my child, so I know that I have to check that. I know that I have to make sure that what I'm bringing, what my energy is, when we wake up, I know that she's going to be modeling my feelings. So is it, for example, when this first started and I had a few work projects that were supposed to be happening kind of simultaneously, and I was trying to balance being this working mom, working woman, trying to get this to be successful, come to fruition, yet
right.
my responsibility to homeschool a 6-year-old girl and keep her happy, I was just filled with anxiousness, and it was apparent because she was feeling that. And then I had to take a look at myself and say, my energy is fueling her energy. I need to reevaluate. Right.
We have to look at our goals and really decide if they're reasonable. Can you accomplish the same amount of work if you have a child to homeschool? But you could also balance that with, giving your child some independence, saying you do this while I do that, and come to me if you have a problem. And that does give your child the opportunity to develop their own strategies, to have confidence in what they've produced. So if they make a mistake, we'll do it again. What could we do differently? There are opportunities here that we have to take.
I love that you're giving tangible things rather than just, I always say we could educate, but if we don't give a tangible plan, it's just noise. And that's exactly a great tangible plan. They try it on their own. If it doesn't work, we look at it and say, how could we do that differently?
And kids need structure.
Right.
So we try to structure the day. We don't lay in our pajamas all day. We get up, we have our breakfast, we do some schoolwork. And when we parents are at our limit because we're starting to run around and be overwhelmed, that's time for us to opt out and take a break. And some things that weren't acceptable before, maybe putting your child in front of the television for half an hour, is something you need to do while you go work out so that you can come back with renewed energy. We all get overwhelmed and we need to take a break. Just like when your daughter gets overwhelmed or thinks her drawing is terrible, you say to her, take a breath, go do something else, and when you come back, we'll try again.
So I know that ages depends on how old your child is how you're going to talk or what you would or would not say. And I understand you're going to speak to a 6-year-old differently than you speak to a 16-year-old. But how much information do we give our children, again, depending on their age, and what's too much information and what's not enough information? Because, again, I'm worried that for my 6-year-old, I don't want her to be a germaphobe. I don't want her to feel that when we're out in public, hopefully in the next, week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however that's going to be, that she's scared for anyone to come near her, or that she's never going to be able to hug someone again or hold someone's hand. How do we handle that? How do we navigate that?
Well, we certainly have to be honest, but we have to be honest in an age-appropriate way. So certainly we're talking about right now. Right now we're social distancing, but we will figure it out. Humanity will figure it out. We're all working together, and you will be able to hug your friends again and go to school. For right now, we do have some concerns. And this goes for any news, like any kind of, there are all sorts of traumas in the world, wars, shootings, illnesses. We don't want to run the news because children hear the news and they make their own interpretations, and it's scary. And we don't want to keep secrets because secrets have a way of growing and becoming scary. So we want to give them information. We can't shield them from reality, but we have to be proactive. We have to use age-appropriate language. And as parents, we have to be the first one to bring up these difficult topics and let our kids know that we're available and we're supportive. So I have some rules of thumb.
Okay.
First of all, you don't do it off the cuff. You think about what you want to say. You can practice it in your head. You can practice it with your partner, with a friend, but you want to know some bullet points of what you want to cover. For a 6-year-old, it's very different than a 16-year-old. A 16-year-old understands science and epidemiology to an extent and can understand that our doctors and the most brilliant people in the world are working to solve this problem, and we're all in it together, and it'll get done, maybe not right now, but we'll get there. The second thing is, if you're talking with your child, you want to find a quiet moment. You don't want to have this conversation with the TV on or the phone ringing or while you're at your laptop. You want to have it at the dinner table or in a quiet moment while you're coloring, when your child is the center of your attention and you're not distracted. And you also find out what they know. You ask them questions. What have you heard? Tell me about it. What are you thinking? What are you scared of? And then we listen, and we listen really well. Because our children will tell us what they need to hear from us. And it's okay for us to share our feelings, to acknowledge, well, I'm a little scared too, but that's human. And even if I get upset, we'll work it out, and we'll see that we can have all different kinds of emotions, and we can manage our emotions, and that's okay. Don't lie to your kids. Don't make up stories. If you don't know, say, I don't know. It's okay not to know. We don't know everything. That's human. Just reassure them that as much as you can, you'll keep them safe, always love them. If they want to talk about it again, you're here for them. You just want to be careful because bedtime becomes that time, so they can
let's have that conversation.
Right. So
we have that.
And then we have to remember to take care of ourselves. We have to remember when we have to take a break, when we have to turn off the news, when we have to do something to lift our own spirits, even if it means I'll work on this later, or I'll stay up later, or maybe it's time to bake. We have to be attuned to ourselves and our families.
100%. I got caught. I like what you said, that the parent should be the one bringing it up. And about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I got caught. I went upstairs to get something in the bedroom, and she asked Alexa, tell me everything there is to know about the coronavirus.
Wow.
I come down and this is a 6-year-old. My kid's pretty resourceful. I was impressed with that.
Yeah.
But I come down, and she has tears, Dr. Rhonda, streaming down her eyes, her face. What's the matter? Alexa told me. And I was stunned. I mean, I'm usually not at a loss for words. I wasn't really sure how to handle that. And I kind of went to we are healthy. We are athletic. We eat our vegetables. We eat good foods. How I could kind of manipulate that situation, because she's 6, is a little different on what would I say if she was, 12 or 13.
You would say, let's think about what we can control, and let's think about the things we're grateful for, and let's be thankful that we're healthy and fit. And those are the things we can make sure we sleep, we can make sure we socialize online with our friends, that we play games together, that we love each other, that we get exercise. Exactly what you said, that we wash our hands.
Right. And here her answer to me was, I'm not going in any store until there is a vaccine. I was like to myself,
wow.
I said, really?
What a kid.
Yeah, this one's sharp. She gets that from Mama. No,
yes. I'm sure she does.
She gets it, but I have to make sure. And here's a kid that has no fear, that jumps off, cliffs. The kid's crazy. She has, and I actually want her to have a little fear because there's no. Right. I'm worried about that at times, and yet now I keep thinking to myself, what can I do to make sure she keeps that full of life feeling and doesn't go into any type of anxiety disorder? And I think it's apparent that the kids are listening. We talk to our girlfriends on the phone. You talk to your husband, your wife, your partner. And if you start complaining and you start saying this effing virus is going to be the death of me, they are going to hear it. And like you said, interpret it in a different way. We have, as adults, we have ways of how we manage our thoughts and feelings. And what we do and what we say, they have different ways of internalizing. Yes?
Right. We have to be very self-aware. If our children are around, remember, they're not at school. We can't always say what we want to whenever we want to. And it's important for our own mental health also that we try to be as positive as possible. That doesn't mean we don't ever get angry, but that's also what you're role modeling. Maybe I said something on the phone I shouldn't have and my child saw it. Well, you say, I had a weak moment, I had a bad thought, but it's gone now, and I realize that everything will be okay. I'm going to stay healthy, and even if I get sick, I will recover.
We'll recover.
And that's
always turn it. It's hopeful. It's want to be hopeful, not hopeless.
Right.
So, Doc, do you think it's okay when my daughter hears that I tell my husband, if you ask me one more question about dinner, I'm going to put you in a headlock? You think that was okay?
I think
it was real.
Okay, but here's the thing. Parents ask me about their fighting all the time. And, I'm not talking about destructive, harmful fighting. I'm talking about typical, bantery fighting. It's not so important if they see you fight. It's okay. But what is really important is that they see you make up, that they can learn that you can be angry with someone you love, but that there's another side to that, and we forgive each other because we love each other. And that's the human condition. We can't always control our emotions. Sometimes we make mistakes, but we have to admit them and we have to repair them. And that's what our kids need to see.
And a real relationship, whether it's with your partner, your friend, your parent, you're going to have disagreements. And if you don't, I always question how genuine and real is that relationship.
Right. Because there are two identities in that relationship, not one. Even if you're married, then there are three identities, each individual and the identity of the relationship, which hopefully makes you stronger.
Right.
So we're always going to have different views. We just have to learn how to manage them. And that's what we want to teach our kids. We have all kinds of feelings and fears all the time. But let's say anxiety does get out of hand and we're really worrying. We have to tell our kids that the only thing that works as well as medicine, in many cases, is exercise. That's what the research shows. So if you are feeling anxious, and if you are feeling moody, then you need to get moving. And I tell my teenagers all the time, look, just give me 20 minutes of hardcore sweating a day. And if they don't want to do it every day, okay, give me 30 minutes, 4 times a week. Start with twice. But eventually, that really turns the brain around. I'm not talking about severe mental illness, of course, but, these are times where people get scared, and there is a lot of negativity out there in the world. And we have to shield ourselves. You want to raise your
serotonin levels. Yes. Right. The serotonin levels, the dopamine, 100%. Right. I mean, I'm a huge, I love sports, and I'm a big believer on you want to keep moving. You want to get that, you want to be sweating toxins out. It's a huge release. You feel good. You look good. You feel good. And it's vice versa. I mean, my daughter knows give mommy 25 minutes of cardio or she's going to turn into a lunatic. Mommy, I don't want you a lunatic. I mean, there's an
your daughter can exercise with you, dance, put the music on, dance, rock and roll, whatever it is that turns you on, share it.
I think what another interesting part of this, and it can go twofold here, is I'm very against social media for children in general for many reasons. And now I know that in some ways it could be that children could be spending now 8-9 hours locked up in their room led to their own devices. Who knows what's going on?
No.
And you never want that. Yet I also think on the positive side, I think many kids can look at this as this could be a relief. There is no FOMO now. There's nothing. There's no fear of missing out of any. There's no party going on where you're not invited to. There's no plans at someone's house that you weren't not included at. No one's having a better Friday, Saturday night. No one played at a game that you weren't able to participate or you weren't asked. So this could actually be a reset on how social media has been a huge influence in the life of teenage kids, that where perception has now ruled their life over reality. And maybe now I'm hoping this may be a switch that, wow, the anxiety has maybe diminished a little bit or a lot because they don't feel the need to be on it like that. I want to look at it in a positive way rather than thinking parents are allowing their kids to lock themselves in their bedrooms and who knows what's going on. And there's now predators lurking in every chat room waiting for these kids that are on all the time. So I'm saying to the parent especially, make sure your child is not doing that. Right? I mean, wouldn't you think?
I feel like, at least in my clientele, in my circle, I feel like the parents really are much more present than leaving them in their room all day and all night. Or some adult is more present. But what you're saying is also true. I think, the social media has hit our girls really hard.
Yes.
And I do see that you're right about the FOMO. They're not watching so much where everybody is Friday night, who's partying, who's not partying. I do see a lot of the girls and boys, joining together in like group Zooms and, hanging out at night and helping each other with homework. I do see a lot of really nice interpersonal relationships happening even over internet,
That's the sense of community I think is happening all over. And that's what makes something like this bearable, and you're taking the good, right? What I don't want to see happen on top of it, though, and I do know this is happening a little bit, is that parents for young children like 6 years old or 5 years old or 7 years old who would never have entertain the thought of introducing them to social media are using this as a babysitter. Let's put kids on house party at 6 years old. I think to myself, that's tragic, Dr. Rhonda. I mean,
I'm not a fan.
You're going to have to walk yourself out of that once this is over. And so my thing is, you're doing things now. It may be easier to manage at this exact moment, but remember, when this is over, there's going to be ramifications to that. So let's not do anything that we're going to have to walk ourselves backwards, because you can't take things back once you introduced it, right?
Right. And remember, we said we all need structure. So if you need that peaceful time, there are programs on the internet, on Netflix, on TV, on everything that help us grow. There are nice stories. There are non-competitive and non-toxic things we can do, through social media or with our viewing. It's okay not to be on top of your child every moment and to foster independence, but it's not okay not to supervise them and, just let it go. We all need, to pay attention to good things, to positive things. And I'm not saying we don't want to see the negative. I'm just saying we don't want to dwell there because that's not good for our health or well-being. And we need to look for the good things or the opportunities in this moment. And there are a lot.
Well, I also could think, look at the time period that just so happened to take more appreciation of nature, for example. Mm-hmm. We're watching everything turn green. Symbolizes life, a rebirth, right? So we talked about this before on my last podcast, is using this, again, not minimizing what has happened, the lives that have been lost, the people that are struggling, that are in hospitals, people that are struggling at home. No one's minimizing that in any way whatsoever, but to stay healthy in your mind and your body, looking at the things you could be grateful for and maybe using this as a reset.
Well,
and knowing what you're doing.
So many people are talking with me about what the larger meaning of this is. The fact that the earth seems to be cleaning itself and the skies are clearer and the fish are coming back and you can hear the birds. I think reset is a good word because we all need to look at it. We need to make this a reset. We need to make this world a better place. We need to value our families and our friends and our neighbors. And we can change this trajectory, but it's going to take proactive, it's going to take trying. We can't just coast. We need to be proactive and do things that make this world a better place, that make us better parents, that model to our children how to live and how to be good humans. So I think that is where the silver lining is. I'm not saying it's a good thing. My family is in medicine. People are suffering. I'm not minimizing that. I'm saying we can't let it happen again.
I think you said something just so powerful right now, is that I think we needed as a society to make a change. And again, no one wanted this to be that change. But if we have to take, we need for our own well-being to take or do something to make this positive in some situation. And I think many of us in society, the society as a whole, has been coasting. And now we need to step back, and this has forced us to step back, to make tangible changes.
Mm-hmm. And each of us has a role to play, and we need to find it.
Yes.
What's meaningful to each of us. If this means I'm reading more books, well, then that's a good thing too. Whatever it is that we can do personally, professionally, that makes the world a better place. I don't want to sound like Pollyanna. I'm just saying we have to take note of those things and stop running up a ladder so that you get to the top of the ladder and say, how was the trip? I didn't notice. We have to know.
Talk to us about, that's where you talk about productivity anxiety.
Oh, yeah. Productivity anxiety. And I think sometimes I think of this a little bit more as a woman's issue, but I'm not sure if that's a fact or not. Just that we all have to be so tightly scheduled, that we have to be so productive, that every moment counts, and there's no room to sit down and do nothing. No. We do need sometimes time to reflect and think and plan and share. It's okay. We don't need to be moving every moment, and your child doesn't need to be busy every moment. Your child also needs to learn how to be mindful and how to appreciate the moment and maybe just reflect or think or compose poetry, whatever. We don't have to run everywhere. That's okay. That's what I like that. By productivity anxiety. Yeah. Relax.
I like that.
It's going to be okay. So
I
now
think
we
we
have
as
to work.
society, we all do that. I think, and that's why the children are overscheduled. And I think I suffer from that as an adult tremendously. Tremendously.
You mean the productivity anxiety?
Yeah, absolutely. Doing, always on the go, making things happen. That by the time, and I'm a big believer in self-reflection, but I think I'm self-reflecting while I'm on the go.
Yeah, well, I'm not against movers and shakers, Lauren. Or a mover and a shaker. I'm not against
I'm a mover and a shaker, doctor. I
I
am a mover and a shaker, yes. I like to shake my cushy. I like to move, and the reflection is going on while I'm moving and while I'm shaking.
That's fine, but the key word is balance. Balance. We need to move and shake, but we also need to take time to be with our families and our children and process our emotions and be good role models. I mean, I think it's about balance.
Well, I think
that is what happened with this virus. It got out of balance.
Right. But I think the biggest thing in whether it's this virus and anything else, we are the role models. We are what's setting the example. So if we are messed up, likelihood our children are going to be messed up. What would you say to a parent who truly has deep anxiety about acclimating back into society, about getting sick? And listen, everything, if you're OCD, it's exasperated right now. If anything you have, it's heightened. And I understand that. I think everyone else understands that. But what would you tell that parent who has children at home and they're having, as an adult, as a person, as a human being, they're having trouble getting themselves okay with leaving the house when this is appropriately timed? What would you tell that parent?
You're telling me that the parent is having deep anxiety.
Yes, and the parent makes the interpretation of the world for their child. So what do you tell that parent?
I might tell that parent, if they've talked with their friends and their supports and reached out to all of their resources, I might say it's time to contact a professional.
Yes.
Because there are strategies.
That's where I was going with that. Yes.
And sometimes we do get into these negative cognitions and they loop over and over, and it's really hard to break out of them. I mean, look, a lot of people use self-help guides or have a trusted friend, and sometimes that can help. But if that doesn't help and you're having trouble being functional and thinking about re-entering when the danger is gone, then maybe you got to talk to someone and find some other strategies.
And that's power, and that's being a good role model. That's knowing that you need help. That's strong and powerful in knowing that you need help, and you know that you don't want to put this on your child. You don't want to pass that fear onto your child. You don't want your child riddled with that anxiety.
Because
riddled with that
if
fear.
We know anything, we know that we will pass it on if we're not managing it. And we, some of my best parents have had the worst childhoods, and they just know this. They promise themselves, this is something I will never do to my child, and they stick to it, and they're fabulous, and they know it. But then there are some other things that, sometimes you just don't know a way out of the damage, but there's always a way out. And you have to find the right help. Yes, you have to find the right help. And if it didn't work the first time, try again. And if this person's not the right person, try another one.
Try another person.
Right. Because not you can't please all the people all the time. But that human connection, and sometimes having a guide, an educated guide who can show you the way out of that pattern is really helpful.
That could be the key in your balance, that connection, that chemistry between you and that person. Mm-hmm. That could be your savior.
Some people find it through psychotherapy. Some people find it through yoga. Some people have gurus. However you find that balance and mindfulness and peace and ability to function in a healthy way, You find it, because that's what you're passing on. And you want to pass on the best of yourself.
Right, not the worst.
That's really important to most parents. Most of us just love our children, want them to be happy. So if we're not happy, we need to make an adjustment, because it'll be harder for them to be happy if we're not happy.
I think that's the most important thing you said, and you've said amazing things today, but that's the most important thing. Can you say that again, doctor?
I think our personal happiness is what we will pass on to our children. And our personal issues and unhappiness is also what we'll pass on. So we have to be self-aware and learn how to help ourselves. And if we can't help ourselves, we need to find a guide.
Right. If you're not happy and you're perpetuating this unhappy energy, your child, 9 out of 10 times, is going to be unhappy. If you're an anxious person and you're very tense, your child's usually going to be anxious and tense. If you're smiling and you're feeling and you're the optimist and you're fused with positivity, your child's going to feel that way.
Yes, and your child will feel empowered.
Yes.
Right. If your child sees that you're struggling and you say to your child, I'm struggling and I'm concerned about it, so I'm going to go get some help, and then you get better, what have you shown your child? That we all have struggles, but there's a way out, and we can make ourselves better with the right interventions. And that's what that's what life is. Moving forward, being healthy, spreading goodness, doing good work, acceptance. We can't cure everything. Sometimes we have to accept things as they are. But all any of us want, whether it's in this country or anywhere else, is for our children to grow up healthy and happy, for our families to be together and at peace. That's all anyone wants. Right.
And the children are watching. I think that's the big thing. Children are watching, emulating what you're doing. Here's a funny story. So a week ago or something, we had a box of these tiny little Legos that made princess carriages or something with them. And I'm not a Lego person. I never was. And my daughter's like, I want to build this princess Lego Cinderella's carriage. And the pieces were the size of my cuticles. Right?
Yes.
And I said, yeah, that's not mommy's thing. And so my daughter says, we try everything. And I was like, under my breath, I'm like, right? And I'm like, okay. We sit down, and no joke, 2 hours later, Dr. Rhonda, sweat is dripping down my head. My armpits are saturated. I'm cursing under my breath, going, and I go, I can't. And every time I go, I can't do this, she says, Mommy, we don't quit. We don't quit. And I was like, I'm going to take this little, we don't quit. And I go, no, we don't quit. Mommy doesn't quit. And I sat there for no joke, 2 hours and 49 minutes to prove that Mommy doesn't quit. And she tested me. My little 6-year-old tested me. And yet,
your little 6-year-old sounds amazing.
She's a sassy little frog. She's adorable. But I kept pushing and saying, we don't quit in anything. You try. You don't give up. And I had to, if I was going to talk the talk, I had to walk the walk. And I did.
Great story.
And she was so impressed with this, and she kept saying, Mommy's an expert Lego maker.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, I need a drink.
I'm really impressed you didn't say, go ask Dad.
I said in the beginning, I go, that's not my thing. And I was like, nope, I got this.
So think about
what I was seeing. Like I was cross-eyed. My eyes were going. I had a headache, but I did it.
So play this forward till she's sitting with her chemistry books. What did you teach her? You taught her, right? And eventually you'll get it.
You'll get it, right? And that was a huge. And I know she was testing me. I mean, it was apparent. And I had to live and be that role model. And by the way, I mean, it was funny and when I look back, but while it was happening, I was pissed. I was sweating and I was pissed. But I had to
taught you a thing or two about frustration tolerance. You taught your child frustration tolerance.
Oh, I did, because the slew of profanity that was really wanted to come out of my lips was unbelievable. It really was.
But she taught you something too. She taught you that, positive words, you can do it, we don't quit, really shored you up.
Yes. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, my kid can teach me things. We all can teach each other things. I think positivity is contagious energy. So if positive energy gives positive energy, negative energy gives negative energy.
Right.
And even so, whatever we're going in, I mean, we want to keep infusing hope, even though you said, and it's okay to say, you don't know something as a parent, but we want to stay hopeful.
Right. But what you just said is really important too. It's that kids, if you're having an issue with your child, instead of harping on what they're doing wrong, you pay attention to what they're doing right. And then they will want to please you. And it's easier to extinguish what they're doing wrong because they'll know what pleases you because you've told them. Sometimes kids they don't see the difference between positive and negative attention. Attention is attention. But if you really take the care, how often does a parent walk into a room where their kids are getting along and say, I'm so proud of you all getting along, versus, you guys stop fighting. I mean,
right.
Really?
Right.
Pay attention to what's good. You'll get
Interesting
more.
You said that. Right. You get more bees with honey or more honey with...
Yes.
What's that one?
Exactly.
Something like that, right?
You catch more bees with honey than vinegar.
You catch more, yes. I never get those sayings right. It's just something that never connects with my brain. I'm sorry. But I so appreciate everything you're saying, and I think this is a huge... I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human. There's no shaming. We're all going through this. Like we said, we're in uncharted waters. We are going through this for the first time, and hopefully we don't repeat this, and this time period. But we're role models, and we're trying to navigate this as human beings, as people. But we have a huge responsibility by being parents, and we don't want to mess our children up.
And we all have ups and downs, and that's okay. We all have ups and downs. That's human. We just need to learn to manage them. That's what we pass down.
Managing is the key, right?
Yes, absolutely. Managing, communicating, trying to look at a situation and find some goodness in it so that we can move forward and not sink into despair.
I think the most important thing here is we are all in this together. And I believe, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I'm going to say it anyway, this time period should not be a political one. This should all be about us working together, about being a stronger society. We need to put our politics, our feelings aside, stop the blame, stop the name calling. During this pandemic, we need to think and talk and infuse all about hope, how we're going to get through this together, because there's so much of the negativity that you can hear, and it literally is a domino effect. And instead of everything being about what side is more, what side's better, who did what, that's all also gets the parent in. If you're putting on the news and you're watching one station and they're calling, the Republicans are screaming at the Democrats are screaming at the Republicans. I hate this one, you hate that one. How is that healthy right now? How could that be productive?
We are a global community, as this pandemic has shown us. This is about humankind. This isn't about us and them. This is about all of us making our world a cleaner, healthier place for our future generations of our children. The hate isn't going to help us. We need to work together. We're all afraid of getting sick. It's not just here or there, or Republicans or Democrats. It's all of us. We all want to be healthy and have healthy families and children. So we do have to stop slinging toxic language and exhibiting toxic behaviors. We need to all be role models.
I love that. I think we need to end on that because we can't get better than that. That's exactly, we all need to be role models. Dr. Rhonda, you are, I love talking to you. I love your voice. You're very calming.
I love talking with you too, Lauren. This has been really uplifting.
I mean, you're a very, very special person. And I think, I'm going to say one thing. I know we said we're going to end, but I have to add this. I think the one thing I believe each and every one of us feel, and has been a constant during this pandemic, is the absolute gratitude we all feel to our first responders, our healthcare workers, everyone on the front lines. I mean, you're a doctor. You are a hero. You will always be a hero. I am grateful to you. I know society is grateful to you, and you should be really proud of the career path that you've chosen and that you're on, and what you do on a daily basis. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh,
thank you.
I don't even know what to say, but thank you. That was really beautiful. And I do really pray and hope for our first responders because they're amazing, so amazing.
They are. For all our listeners, you can reach Dr. Rhonda. The best way is her email address, which is Dr. Yoss-Kaplan at gmail.com. So that's DRYOSSKAPLAN at gmail.com. Dr. Rhonda's information will be on my website at empoweredwithlauren.com. I always love hearing your feedback, your thoughts, your comments. You can reach me on my email at lauren@empoweredwithlauren.com. To all of you that have lost loved ones during this time, I am sending you and your family my deepest condolences. And for those of you who are fighting to get healthy from this virus, please stay strong and positive and know that each one of you are loved. To the rest of my listeners, wishing you light, health, peace, and friendship. Until next time.